Now we'll start. Icebreaker, who wants to share something? One volunteer to share something about Jordan that I would never have known otherwise.
Well, it's a funny one.
Okay.
Mostly our families, have arguments at their family trips. So they end the family trip and return back to home.
Really?
Yeah.
You'll stop a vacation in the middle of a vacation
Yeah.
and go back?
Yeah.
What do families argue about that would make them stop a vacation?
Very small and tiny things.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. So in America, we argue at the dinner table every day.
So you do it regularly so you can
We do.
Enjoy the vacation.
Yes, we argue all the time. It's actually kind of
Healthy thing.
it's very healthy to just get it out and for sure. Cool, that's a good fact. Ask me a question about my country. Anything you want to know. You have to have questions about America. Come on.
Why you love junk food
The what?
so much? You love the junk food so much.
Always repeat
Food?
the fact that you junk food. Americans love
Junk food.
Yeah.
Because that's a great question. We love junk food because it's easy. And personally speaking, I work a lot. I work probably 15 to 20 hours a day, and I almost never stop to eat. And in our country, the family eats only together at dinner.
Yes.
So breakfast, everybody does their own. Lunch, you do your own thing, and a lot of times you forget to eat because you're so busy, and it's just on the way home, I'll just stop at a gas station and get a bottle of water, candy, and a hot dog because it's easy and I'm starving and I just eat. It's purely out of being lazy.
But you have a time management, perfect
Totally.
time management. Yes.
I have great time management when I'm at work. But I forget to, and you wouldn't know it by looking at me, but I forget to eat all the time. I eat, and I think that's my problem is I eat only at night, a big giant meal, and I eat late, which is not good. But yeah, we don't spend enough time. We don't stop enough in America. We're always going fast. And that's why we eat the junk food. Yeah,
In Jordan, the most important meal is the lunch.
really.
Yes.
I think a lot of countries would say the same thing. Yeah, breakfast, they say breakfast is the most important meal because it makes you healthy for the day, but everybody likes to sleep late. So, yeah, great. We'll do this again tomorrow. It's fun. All right, warm-up time. Do you all have paper and pencil?
Yep, of course.
All right, of course. So here's your warm-up. So today's warm-up is going to be this. I want you to grab a partner. Maybe everybody just turn around and face the person who's behind you as your partner. And your task is going to be to look at this code. Yeah, you guys, so you work together and you work together. Like this, okay? And your task is, hold on guys. Your task is going to be to tell me what that's going to do. I want you to tell me on your piece of paper, draw out what this code is going to produce. Draw me the picture that gets rendered in the browser. How will it look? If I zoom it, we're going to lose it.
I can't possibly do this.
Yeah.
You have a button over there?
Zoom.
Okay. Cool.
Which one?
Yeah, we leave it.
Awesome. You can't zoom any more than that.
Yeah.
It's about as best I can do. Oh, I know what I can do.
Now let's see, open it twice.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
لا فاطمة
How's that? Better?
Oh, way better. Yeah.
Tell me how it's going to drop. Tell me what this is going to do in the browser. Draw me a picture of how that's going to look when the browser renders it. 2 people, every group of 2. Tell me how it's going to look. Yeah. About 2 minutes. 2 more minutes. I'll tell you in a minute. It is colored. Okay, everybody back to your regular seats, please. You separate. Return to your seats, please. Hello? Okay. I need one group, one person from one group to tell me one way that this could have been drawn. One volunteer. How could this look? You can just describe it to me. I can't see what you got there. So you have...
This is the purple box.
So you've got a div like this.
Yeah, div.
Yep.
This is the div.
And the LIs. I'm not going to draw colors.
Yeah, without colors.
Oh, you can't see the screen. Sorry. Freeze. There we go. Okay.
Inside this div, there will be a listed item. Each list item has its own border.
Right. Would they be stacked on top of each other?
No, it will be blocked. Yeah, so because you make it
Like
float.
this?
Yeah, float.
Like this. Okay, that is option number one.
Yeah.
Who has a different way that it could look?
Maybe in line.
So somebody said in line. So this way would look, how would the box look? Inside, so a big box like this?
A big one.
Like that? Like this? Okay. Like that? Is that how you saw it? So give me another way. What's the third way?
Big box.
A big box? Whoop.
Another big box inside.
Another big box inside?
Yeah.
How big? The same size as the box?
Yeah, the same.
Like this, kind of?
Yeah. The items inside this box.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Another way. Four, I guess, right? Who else has a different way? I haven't seen the answer yet.
Same as the second, but it's also thick.
The same as the second, but also
Border should be thick.
the outside border? That's kind of what this is, yeah. Anybody see it differently than that? So here's the way it actually draws. You ready for the answer?
Yeah.
Here's the answer. The answer is, I'll give you let's see, I'll put it over here. The answer is this. It's a line like that, and then this below it. Just a line like that. Let's talk about what happened there. So you'd like it to be this, because the div would have a border around the outside of it, but the div actually makes one line. Okay, why? Because what's inside of it is LIs. How are they styled? What's that right there? Float left. Okay, float does something special. It takes items, we say this word, out of flow. This is what floating something does. Take something out of document flow. So the browser likes to put a box around everything where it can. When you float it, you're telling the browser, ignore that. And so the browser says, okay, but there's nothing technically inside of me anymore. So the box collapses and it becomes an empty box like that. And then the list items are still there. And so the browser draws them by themselves afterwards.
So in some way it's not really. I just try to.
Yeah, that's basically it. You're getting, so because, yeah, what happens is in CodePen, you get padding and margin. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing margin or padding in there with CodePen. So this collapses. Is there a way, what's the thing that we call to make this not happen? That's a way to fix it for sure. What's the process called?
There is a property called clear.
Yes?
The clear floats.
Yes, we want to clear the float. Clearing the float tells the browser that I'm done doing this work, and then it puts everything back the way it should be.
It should be in the next element, right?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to clear a float. There's actually 4 ways to do it. Yeah, there's 4 ways. One of my favorite ways to do it, I think somebody just said it, was overflow. So I put overflow on the container. Overflow, let's say hidden.
To the div.
That's on the div. What does that tell the div? This is interesting. What does overflow do?
It's,
Overflow does this. Overflow, it will draw the scroll bar. Right? Overflow tells the browser if there's too much content, draw a scroll bar.
Yeah.
Right? In order for the browser to know whether or not the scroll bar is necessary, it has to calculate the height. And when it calculates the height, it can then draw the box.
Okay.
It's a trick.
Okay.
yeah, so you do it in both horizontal and vertical.
That's right.
scroll, right?
That's right. So overflow hidden is a way to make the browser see how big it is, and then it can fix the border, and it just works. So you might have seen this. It's kind of I'm going to erase this if that's okay.
Mister,
Yes,
I don't understand what.
I'm going to show you. Do you ever see this mug? CSS is awesome mug. This is my coffee cup at work. Yeah, I actually have this exact cup on my desk. This is what happens when overflow happens in CSS. You make a box and then it spills out.
Yeah.
If I had done overflow hidden, it would look like that.
Yeah.
If I did overflow auto, I would have a scroll
Scroll
bar,
bar, yeah, horizontal.
right? That's what overflow does. Without overflow, you get this mess over here.
But that happened with the content, only the content.
Only the content. I'll show you how to do it.
Other
If
elements when the class.
I go to code pen, we can do something like we can do pen. If I say div, and inside we'll do like a p tag. Say this is a lot of content. And we'll say the div border 1 pixel solid black. With, let's say it's with 75 pixels. Oh, geez, it's not going to overflow. Let's say the P. That should flow the P out of the div. See how that happens right there?
Oh.
And the div can say height of 100 pixels, just to make it a little bit bigger. So you can make that happen on your own by not having overflow. If the div said overflow auto, I think that would put a scroll bar down here.
Yeah.
And if I did overflow hidden, it just cuts the words off so you can't see them anymore. They're still there, but they're cut off. So that's how you can kind of play with that a little bit. And that's actually making the coffee mug. That's how the coffee mug is made.
Yeah.
Fun?
Yeah.
Cool. Those are pretty typical of a daily warm-up. We do this kind of an exercise every day. So you'll be paired up with somebody in the room and we'll talk about a thing and compare notes. Cool?
Cool, yeah.
All right. Then let's jump in a little bit and talk about yesterday's code challenge, the code review, the for each stuff. How many of the code challenges did you finish? Did anybody finish all of them? No? That's a shame. I'm kidding. How many did you get through? Who got like half, 3/4, about that much? That's about right. That's about right. What was your favorite one?
The first one.
That is funny. That is really funny. One of my favorite ones. Was FizzBuzz part of that?
Yeah. My favorite.
FizzBuzz, was that done within? How was the question asked? Do you remember? How they phrased the question for FizzBuzz? Let me take a look at it real quick. Let's see. That is here, right? FizzBuzz takes an array of numbers. Okay, so FizzBuzz is a very classic interview question. It was asked for years and years. Oh, by the way, the last question I asked you, the warm up, that's a question I used to always ask in interviews. Whenever I would be hiring for a front end position, I'd always ask that CSS question. FizzBuzz is a thing that's very, very common to be asked. In this case, we're going to take an array of numbers and print fizz when it's divisible by 3, buzz by 5, and FizzBuzz for both. Correct? I'm going to copy this starter code out and just go to REPL it, and we'll just code it out real quick. I had a class one time where I made a promise to them that every time I swore, I would have to do FizzBuzz a different way. So I have one of my things in here has got 30 FizzBuzzes in it that I've done. I did it so many ways.
Every time you swear?
Every time I said a bad word, yeah. They used to laugh at me. All right, so let's say const FizzBuzz equals a function that takes in an array, right? And does something. And we'll say make it a const. Const array equals, give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 18, 21, and 30. Okay. Just based on what you can see, which ones should produce fizz? Only fizz.
On the fizz, 3.
By threes.
By
Which
three,
ones?
3, 6, 9.
Should be 3, 6, 9.
12, 15, 18, 21, 30.
Well, I did too many of those.
Oh.
Let me take some of those out. Let's go 16, and we'll make 9, 11. Let's do it. So 3, 6, 12, 15, 21, and 30. Okay, that's more interesting.
Fizz.
It's never a good test when everything matches the test. Buzz would be the ones divisible by 5.
By 5 will be 5, 10, 15,
And 30.
30.
Okay? Which one should be FizzBuzz?
Fizz.
Which is divisible by both 3 and 5.
30.
15 and 30, which means they don't go here, right?
Yep.
They should only do one or the other,
Okay.
not both.
Okay.
So the threes are 3, 6, 12, and 21. The buzz is 5 and 10. And the FizzBuzz is 15 and 30. So what approach did you take to doing this? For each.
For each.
So we have to do array dot for each. Okay, what's the argument to array dot for each? The one argument for it. Say again? What does array dot for each take in as an argument? Not the array. This is the array.
Function.
It's a function. It's a callback function. Right? So the callback function takes two things. Value and index. So value, I'm going to shorthand it. You know what shorthand means? It's like shrinking the word, right? Array dot for each takes in a callback function, which receives value and index as the two arguments to it. In here, I could simply, just to prove we're okay, console log val. Just because I want to see that it's working. Is this code going to run? When I press play or run, what's going to be the output?
all the value of the
Who thinks all the values in the array are going to come out? Raise your hand. Who thinks that that's not going to happen? So if you don't think it's going to happen, tell me why.
You didn't make the function yet, right?
I didn't call the function. Thank you. That was a simple one, but I want to make sure we saw that. Let's do fizz buzz with this. We'll call this nums.
Mr. John,
Yes.
I didn't understand the business. Can you repeat again?
What does it stand for?
Yes.
Silly words.
Nothing.
I didn't
It's,
get it.
it's just funny. There's no reason for why it's called fizz buzz. Somebody made it up.
Yeah, but the function of this fizz buzz, what do you mean by fizz buzz?
What does it mean?
It's just a function or
Yeah, this
something?
function. Yeah, this is a function. It's an arrow function called fizzbuzz. I'm going to call it down here, right? So it's going to call fizzbuzz. It's going to send in numbers, which is this array, and then we're going to go through it and print them out. That should print the numbers out.
Yeah, but
Is-
what about the things fizz on, the fizz only, buzz only?
Oh yeah, we haven't done that work yet. Yeah, I'd like to, when I write code, I like to take this very simple approach where I set everything up very basic. So the function has the right argument. I can prove that it's going to do the each. And I know that it's going to write on the right array. I want to make sure that I have kind of my very basic things working. Now I'll do the work. So what I want to do is account for divisible by 3, by 5, by both.
Okay.
Okay? So how do I test if something is divisible by 3?
If the
The remaining value is 0.
If the remainder is 0? Sure. So I could say like if, like val,
val index.
just val is the value, so it's
Okay,
1.
yeah. I think
Right?
it's to for each, yes.
Modulus 3, right, equals 0, right? Then console.log what?
Buzz.
3 is fizz. I'm going to say else console.log val. So my first test here is to just see if I can get the 3's to work, right? Can I make it show, so I should see 3, instead of 3 it should say fizz, fizz, fizz,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the rest of them should just say the number.
Numbers. Yeah.
Sweet, let's see if that works. Run. So I got 3 to be fizz, 9, 12, and the other ones at the end,
Okay.
right? Cool. How does that feel so far? Because 3 we said was going to be what?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Fizz should be these. Buzz should be these. And fizzbuzz should be both. So I've kind of found a problem.
No, there's no
you
problem
only
because
remove one value. It's 15 and 13. Right?
no, because we didn't make the both fizz and buzz, so the 15 and the the 18 and the 30 will be
Right.
But-
So it's captured 15 and 30 got captured here. Would you say that that's a problem? That 15 and 30 got captured? Yeah. Let's do the buzz case,
Okay.
and then we'll do the both case.
Okay.
Okay. So if value modulo 3, which means is there a remainder? I use triple equal, 3 equal signs 0. Make sure there's no remainder.
Yeah.
We'll repeat that for the 5. So we'll say else if val %5 equals 0. Console.log buzz. This should get me which ones? 5 and 10?
5 and 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that to work.
2 buzzes. Yeah.
But what I'm still concerned because I got this to work. I got this to work, but these are wrong.
Yep.
Why not 12? between these.
Sure.
Also,
Else if val percent 3 and equals 0 and val percent 5 equals 0. Sweet. Otherwise, it just puts the value. Let's see if that works. Uh-oh. You have an idea? What's that?
But the last, yes, the beginning.
This one should be the first one. Why?
Does it work line by line?
Yep.
So-
Step by step, line by line.
Okay, let's find that. Let's move this up. Let's change it to actually if and else if. So now we're going to see if they're both, then if it's 3, then if it's 5. Let's see if that works. And there's the answer, right? Good job. There's 2 pieces to this. I put 4 fingers up. There's 2 pieces to this. The first piece is, actually there's a lot of pieces here. Let's unwind all of it. And when I say unwind, I mean let's dive in,
Okay.
stretch it out. First of all, that. Right, what's that? What is that? I'm going to get my trusty pen here and say, what is the meaning of that? Yes, I made that function a constant. What does a constant mean?
Does not change.
It'll never change, right? The language won't let you change it. It'll give you an error if you try and change the value. You're also telling, it's constant is a way to tell your fellow developers what you mean. Like, I intended for you never to touch it. Like, I made it, it's a constant, don't change it, my decision. So const is also a way of communicating.
Oh,
Besides for the compiler, it's for developers too. So that's an important bit of it. I made this
an arrow.
an arrow function just because I'm cool and I wanted to. I don't have to do that. You can make functions all the ways. I can tell you this. If you have a job interview and you get a question like this, you must write it like this. You must use the function FizzBuzz syntax. Okay, use the old-fashioned syntax.
Why is that?
Because every language has this, for the most part. And also, a lot of companies, the one I used to work for, in fact, did not support the newest JavaScript. Their code base was really old. And as such, the developers who work there, because they're working every day, don't know what arrow functions are, if you can believe that. But it's very true. Sometimes in your job, you get so only one way to do it, you don't have time to look at the new things. So go the old way. So constant does not change. Arrow function, because it's the newest and coolest thing. The ordering, first check, second check, third check, are very important in this question. Notice also how I built it. Right? I took that step of going super simple, straight console log. Then I built it, and I, of course, know the answer. So I built this one first to prove that it was going to be a problem. But when you're writing your code, as you start building up from something simple, you might, in fact, find that you make a problem right away. Like, as soon as we did this, you all should have known problem here and problem here when I did the first one. So that was an important bit of a lesson for you. And I made the numbers also a constant. No need to change those.
Yep.
Questions?
There's
Oh.
no questions. I think if we reach this challenge, we can solve it. But we didn't have much time
Oh,
to
I know.
our another assignment.
yeah. A lot of you had this yesterday.
Yeah,
You had 4 hours drive,
Yep.
right?
About, yeah.
You had no sleep, right?
For 2 days.
You probably ate some junk food, right? Because you were so tired and all that. I totally I understand. I understand. And again, I don't expect that you can get to every single code challenge, but every day I want to do one with you. So every day, maybe if you get certain far through it, pick one.
Okay.
And let's agree that we'll do one a day. I'll find one that was kind of hard, or you can tell me we all got stuck on one. We can do it together and walk through it. Tomorrow when I do this, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to raise this up. I'll do it on the whiteboard. And I'm going to do it like I was getting a job interview.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm going to show you a very special way to do it. I may even make up a question for this tomorrow. There's a very process that I use for whiteboarding that we teach at Code Fellows, and then I've always used it in my career, that will get these things for you very easily. It'll help you solve problems. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. And then after you see it, maybe we'll have Ahmed do one.
Yeah.
Interview you once. And then when you see that, you can start. And we'll take volunteers to be interviewed. And then after the volunteers, for a couple days, I'll show you my toy. Want to see my new toy? I wrote this a while back, and I think it's fun. It's called the randomizer. I have put your names into it. I have not yet taught it how to say your names. So the randomizer does say your name out loud when it calls on you, but right now it will not pronounce you right. But if I hit the next button, it will say your name. I can use this to pick a person at random if I wanted to. I can also do it like this, so your partners for tomorrow are here. That's not them. I'll redo it again, but every day I can click the button and make a new set of partners. I can just pick pairs by random every day. So you always have, I'll post this in Slack when it's time. Yeah. All right. So let me show you, let's see here. Let's go back to, where is it? Okay, here it is. There's my answer. Notice some things about it.
Yes,
Some of the things to notice are it is beautiful. Okay. There are definitely, all the lines are the same thickness. No matter where they are, the lines are always the right size. That was hard to do. Right? It is definitely centered, which was part of it. And if we look at the sizes of these things, they're all the exact right size. Every one of them. And just to prove that the bottom part works too, I'll slide down. You see the footer is next to the left-hand side. Okay? If I move my screen, let me wipe that clean. When I get to a certain point, it'll snap. And again, all the right heights, and these are 4x4s. Okay? Now, let's talk about how. Because it's not very difficult to see.
Yeah.
Let's look at the code. And this code, I apologize, because it's beautiful. But beyond that, it smacks. So smacks means 4 files.
Oh.
Right? And so there's the same rules across different files, so it's hard to follow sometimes. But let's look first at the markup that I chose. First things first, we know that goes in the head. The markup that I chose for this, I had to make some interesting decisions for this. I like my markup to be what we call semantic. JB talked about semantic markup with you. What does semantics mean in HTML?
Meaningful, has meaning.
Has meaning.
Has meaning.
It's one way of saying it. What's another way of saying?
Organized.
Say again?
Organized.
Organized. Yeah, I'll go organized. What else can we say about semantics?
Describe what the content of
It describes what it is. You say it has meaning. You say it describes what the content is. I think the perfect marriage is in there somewhere. It definitely says what it is. Now, this is not semantic, completely semantic. It tries to be, but Not always. I always have a main inside my body. I always have the areas that go across the screen. For me, always a section tag when it goes all the way across. Sections can have headers to describe that section. So section header is this. So in my view, this whole thing is a section. This piece of content is the header. That's how I viewed it. And I also viewed this entire section here, this whole thing, as one big section. This is the footer for the section. This is an aside of the section. It's a ancillary or helpful piece of content, but it's not the main content. These right here, I made divs. They're going to hold the content. So if you look at my markup, section with a header, section with an aside and a footer, and then all those divs for content. Most of the time, I try not to use classes if I can, or IDs. Here I had to, because you had some that were 50% wide, the twos, and some that were 4 across.
Yeah.
So I gave them 2s and 4s. I thought about this, and I thought about doing this, which you can do. You can do section like that. So it's a section within a section. That would have been okay, but when you go to the mobile, they all have to stack in a different order. So that wouldn't work. So I made sure that my markup would work, both mobile and desktop. So I went with just a bunch of divs with these names, and then on mobile I could take care of them too. So that's how I approached it. And I look at these ones that are called 2s, ones that are called 4s. This is the 2s. This is the 4s. On mobile, these are the 4s are right here, and the 2s are the ones that are above it. So I made the 2s go full width, and the 4s just take this kind of quadrant approach. That's how I did it. And if we look at the actual source code for this, there's not a whole lot here. The base, I just did this. My favorite CSS rule.
Yeah.
Do we love this rule? If you love CSS, this is your favorite rule, right? What does that do?
Scan all the padding and margin and border in the same.
That's right. That's right. But I want to make sure we really understand the why on that. Because you've got this thing of, oh my goodness, that's awful. I can't draw straight at all. So let's say you've got another one here. Terrible picture. This out here, this white space around the outside of it, what is that called? Margin. This right here, this inside,
Padding.
yes.
Then the content.
Then finally the content, yes, inside content. Now, the reason why this box sizing border box is so important is because in Internet Explorer, somebody's angry.
Yeah.
In Netscape, or no, Netscape, Mozilla.
Firefox.
Yep. In Chrome, all different. They all count for those differently. Sometimes the size of a box, if you say div 100 pixels, sometimes it's the whole thing 100 pixels. Sometimes it's only the content that's 100 pixels. Some browsers will do it. If you say div 100 pixels, I want the whole thing to be 100 pixels so I can put it on the page where it needs to go. If the browser says you're wrong, margin matters, and it becomes bigger, then this div can be 150 pixels wide. when all is said and done. So box sizing border box brings it all in and makes every browser work the exact same. So it's one of those rules where because the box, we call it the box model, because it's odd in every browser, we use this rule to make it the same across every browser. And if you write a lot of CSS, that is so important to not have to worry about it anymore. I can show you a demo later that proves how that works. That's super important. And remember, in SMAX, base is only the thing where you style just the basic content, the basic tags. This example had nothing to style. Just the backgrounds were gray. That's it. There was no text. So the base is easy on this one. The style, I think, just pulls them in. The theme is where I set the background to the gray for everything, divs, headers, footers, and the whole thing has the gray background. And everything has a 1 pixel border to start with. Now, here's where that gets interesting. My theme sets the border color and the background color. Remember when I told you you'd have the double borders?
Yes.
Because they smack together again?
Yeah.
This is where I account for that. So this media rule is for desktops because this right here. Oh, I'm sorry. This is for max width is for phones, right? Right. That's how we identified that snap point. So look what I did here. I did this thing in CSS where I unstyle something. I said everything has a border. And then I say for this screen size, remove the top border for the footer. Remove the top border for the aside. Remove the top border for the two that are next to each other. And remove the left border for the ones that are stacked up. Right? So all I did was I gave everything a border by default. On desktop, I removed the top, and removed the sides. Does that make sense? So you achieve this look because if I didn't do that, dark border, double dark border, so I undo it as a cheater way. It makes the code a little tough to follow because you have to say, oh, it's here, and then I delete it. But that's the way you do that. Then on the phone, where my minimum width is 960, so this is down below 960, same sort of thing. I remove the top border and left border for the divs, and the footer and the aside. That way they all have just the collapsed borders for themselves. So I used the layout CSS, the theme CSS, for color, for border color, and border style. So the theme of the thing, how it looks, covered in here, and that's where I dealt with the borders. The layout CSS is where we put things. So by default, for all the things, main, margin auto. What does margin auto do?
Center.
It'll center things with one condition though.
Related to the content of the element.
Say again?
Related to the content of the element.
Related to the width of the whole thing, but it has to have a width for that to work. So if main didn't have a specific width on it, it wouldn't be able to center itself. And I give the main a width in a minute here, you'll see. My section, here's my trick, overflow hidden, because everything is floated. I float every single element to the left, no matter what. That way they all just kind of snap into place. And then on my phone, I just set the widths of everything. And everything has that specific height. Remember the mock-up had like 75 high and all the. So for my phone, I basically set all the heights to be what they're supposed to be. And on desktop, I set the widths. So everything floats to the left. I just set the width, and they all kind of fall into place together. And that's how I did it. But look, you see what I wrote here? There are no rules in CSS. I did it this way. I have seen every instructor at Codefellows do this different. And I've had probably 200 students come through, 301 and 201. I've seen it 300 different ways.
Wow.
There's just no way to do this the same way. Nobody will ever write the same CSS. Almost never. I've seen people do it with a margin where they put them together and then they go like one on top of the other by 1 pixel to hide the margin. I've seen people do it with inline block instead of with floats. There's so many ways to do this.
I used position.
You can do absolute position. It's hard. Absolutely, really hard. There's no wrong way. There's my way, which is the best way. But there's no wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
There's many ways to do it. And the thing I like about CSS is that you get to try different things and see what works and what doesn't work. You might find trying this is really hard, and you may have found the thing that kind of works, but not great. But then you know next time something different, that thing you tried for this might be the thing that works.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn kind of like tricks on the fly. CSS is fun, but it can be frustrating. And I think when it goes across these files, I think you can kind of forget where things are.
We didn't do these files.
Oh, you didn't?
No, but I will refactor my code too.
Yeah, I go both ways. When I first did this, I did it all in one file. And I did it like that because when I teach, I find it's easier just to be in a file and scroll and show you things than go from file to file. I think going from file to file is confusing. But the solution needs to be in the right files. So I recoded it and I went from one file to multiple files and it was hard. It was really hard to do that. I'm never doing that again. I'm going to start with the files they belong in and kind of do it that way. So yeah. How did you all do it? You said absolute position?
Yeah, I used relative and absolute position.
Okay.
For each container and the charts of it. I used for the
Mhm.
C and D, make an article, named an article or section for the C and D, give them a unit class. And then the other four, E, F, G, H, give them another article, header aside differently, and the footer will be
So giving these as articles,
yeah.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's what about CSS and HTML is fun to argue about it, and maybe you all can go home after we argue about it. I think that the argument to be made here is that to me, an article is one.
Okay.
One article per page. Because if it's like, that's what the page is about.
Okay.
So one article, one aside.
Okay.
These would be things that would lead you to read an article.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're either divs or something else. To me, a section is all the way across.
Yeah.
I literally, not lying to you, was in a room with a team of people for 2 days
Oh.
arguing about what a section is. What was going to be our company rule for a section? I was in a meeting with 40 people for a week. We were talking about styling and how to properly do things. And we started out good, one great day, 4 days about what a button was. I can Slack somebody right now. Well, not now because they're all asleep. But I could Slack them and ask this guy named Sean, what's a button? And he'll curse at me. Because 7 years ago we had this conversation. Nobody can still tell you what a button is. Because designers and coders and marketing people can't agree on what an actual button is. No, true story. So there is no right, because literally an href, a link, you can style it to look like a button, but it's not a button.
Yeah.
In markup.
Input, you could use an input.
You can just make an input to be a button.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make a div look like a button. There's all sorts. They said anything you can click on is a button. I'm like, that's not true. So it was a whole thing.
I love things with the rules. Without rules.
Yeah, exactly. There is no rules. But we had to have a rule because we made websites for 20,000 car dealers.
Yep.
It has to be the same across every website. Otherwise, everything breaks.
Yes.
So we had to agree, and it took us a long time to agree, and nobody was happy. But these are great conversations to have. What do you think this is? absolute positioning can work, but that's a lot of math,
Good.
right? I think it's very hard to position things where it's going to go, and if you get one thing wrong, everything gets out of whack. It's kind of hard to do it. So, right, you weigh it out. What was harder for you?
Well, positioning, I practice on the project on positioning. That this is the reason why I use positioning. Yeah, but the other thing I'm gonna ask you about is the height and the width.
Mm-hmm.
There is a formula inside the reading we read yesterday to make a percentage of the width and height, not using pixels. I try to use this, but for C and D and the other fours, there is some little space in the right. Yeah. Because I figured out that the percent didn't take any dots, so it has to be a true number, like 75, no 75.3 or 4. Yeah.
Right.
That will be integer. Sorry. Integer.
Yeah, you can do this, actually. Do you see the calc? You can do this. You can say width. You can say calc for calculate.
Yeah.
100% divided by 2, for example.
Yeah.
And that would calculate, even if it was 75, it would do the exact math to do all the numbers. So you can get perfect by using the calc property of CSS. It's a nice little thing. It's kind of a trick. Yeah. It's a good one.
Because after I finished all the calculation, I made something big. Control Z.
All right. I'll tell you what. Let's take a little break. It is 3:06. So, wait. Was it 15:06? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's 15:06.
15:06. You say 15:06 or 15:06? How do you say it? 15:06. Okay. So let's do 15 minutes from now, or no, 10 minutes from now. So 15:16.
15:16.
Yes, we'll do that.
Your call. Your call.
Good.